again. I am here to talk to you today about being and doing, and I will not do it with my sunglasses on. I am so thrilled to talk about this topic because, as I have in the title, I've said for a long time, and I hold events around the world that are all for conscious creators and badass activators. And serving the people that I do and doing the work that I do, I feel into this same thing, which is recognizing this need and how necessary it is to both be present and be mindful and be conscious. So you as a conscious creator running a conscious business, or having gifts coming through you, or just simply wanting to show up to be the best person you can in this life, to be present and aware. And then also, if you have a business especially, you're wanting to show up and get shit done and make it happen, and be a badass and actually step into your power and all the things that come with actually showing up. So this balance, and this in the last couple years, I don't know how long, but the word hustle has become such a big thing. And certainly, I guess it's actually been for quite a long time, because I was a startup co-founder way back in 2010, and then again in 2012, and so hustle is definitely around then. And so being in the Bay Area and just being around that hustle mentality for so long, and so often what that means, when you're getting shit done, and that hustle mentality is that there's no time for feelings and taking care of yourself. It's work just completely trumps all things, healthy. And thankfully, I really believe we've actually hit this kind of tipping point now, and people are starting to realize that that's not healthy. It's not sustainable. So in fact, that's actually what I created in 2011 after serving as co-founder at that first startup. I actually started a whole video series on creative sustainability. Yeah, alignment is the new hustle. That is so true. I love that quote. It is so true. And it really is true that, we have to be looking at what is sustainable for us. And if you are someone that is connected to what's coming through you, here's the thing, all of us, really what we've recognized is that this is not about time management. This is about our energy management. And so every little piece of that, whether it be your mental energy, physical, spiritual, emotional, comes into play. And that is where, all of your doing is really rooted in your being, and being present, truly being present to, what is your capacity, what is leaking. So a lot of the times that's what I'm working on with my clients, is really what are the energy leaks or even the mental leaks that are happening. So one of the pieces actually that just came up the other day for a client is recognizing how, and this actually really comes into alignment as well, that quote, Janet, is that when we are doing things in our business, especially if you are small or you're just starting out, one of the pieces that may be true is that you may be doing things that aren't, it's not even that they're not totally aligned, it's just that you quite frankly would like to be doing something else. So this is the E-Myth, if any of you guys are familiar, is really recognizing that often you start your business because you are the technician. You are the one that's, in the book, he uses the example of baking the pies. But I work with those who are amazing healers, or if they are writers or whatever that may be, they're creative and they want to just be doing their creative work. They want to just be, designing all day, or they love people and they love helping people. And then there's this whole other side of business, which means you have to, be kind of managing it and planning and, doing some stuff that just isn't always as sexy. And while I'm a huge believer in delegating and a huge believer in bringing people on board to support you with that, in the beginning, sometimes you have to go in there and get your hands dirty and do the stuff that is a little outside of your comfort zone. So in this example, actually, one of my clients was doing something and in surfacing and sharing with me how she was doing it, how she was feeling, and the task of it was really, you could just tell it was kind of sucking her energy. And I realized, I was like, oh, I have actually something for you in this, and this is something you guys can all access, and I'll even put another resource for you if this is helpful, because this is this piece, right, about how can you stay conscious and stay in your doing, stay in alignment with what you love, but also how to take care of the stuff, right, actually get things done in the doing. So I'll add one more resource in here, which is a podcast that I recently recorded with my friend Amanda about inbox overwhelm and email overwhelm, and how can you kind of stay aligned and also be making sure that you're running your energy with that one as well. So in this example with this client, one of the things that I gave her was this insight of essentially what she was wanting to do is engage on Facebook, and yet Facebook can be a really competitive place, and so she's helping with her husband grow this second business, and knowing that she needs to be present on Facebook to, kind of like throw their hat in the ring for this business, and how she was noticing how much energy was going into each post. And, because she is someone that is so authentic and she's so caring and she wants to be so present. And I had recommended to her actually one great gift for her in that is that she can create herself a list to pull from. So this is right up there with if you ever are noticing that you're responding to clients several times or inquiries several times, or having to say no to things, right? And all the energy that comes around having to say no is these things that are requiring your attention over and over again, supporting yourself with a system of some sort. So if you have, they can still be very authentic, true messages, but that you've got yourself a list of them to pull from, so that you're not having to pull from that emotional, mental, physical wellspring every single time, especially if you're a truly, sensitive being that cares so much. It's like, that's where we can lead to that resentment and burnout and what have you. So another piece about buoying and being and doing is that really this is so much about it is, even if you guys have been following me for any time, I say this a lot, and it's just a really powerful mantra for you to be recognizing is that this sweet integration of being and doing. This isn't about being way over here and doing being way over here. It may feel like that some days, and it may feel like that at first, but my invitation for you is to see how you can start integrating these. And this is really all relationship with self stuff. This is about you really integrating your own ability to be this is ultimately what it is to be in the flow, right? When you are fully in the flow, you are in your doing, you are creating, you're in this like magic of getting things done, but you are so present and you are so aligned with what you're doing. It's just like everything else fades away. This is flow ultimately, right? So the art of being and doing is really coming into integrating these two pieces. And there's some incredibly powerful tools that you can support yourself with, meditation being a major one, because meditation, if you're finding on a day-to-day basis that your mind is racing even when you try to calm it, if you even just take a few moments, or if you're finding yourself having a hard time sleeping, that's all a great sign that meditation could, this is all about training your mind, right? And so that integration of that doing and being, I'll tell you that one of the things I do, there's a lot of walking that happens, even anywhere I'm traveling, there's a lot of walking. And I will take that as an opportunity not to be like rushing from A to B and going when, where I'm like listening to something or talking to something. Like, yes, sometimes that happens and I'm not as present. I also give myself the opportunity to do some walking meditation. So if I know I have a 15-minute walk to the train station, that I am super present on that walk. And that is being and doing. What a great example of that, right? Where you are mindful and you're walking and I'm getting somewhere and I'm accomplishing something. So the being and doing is simply having this presence and this awareness while you're doing things. This is also just a few tips on the mindfulness meditation if you want to integrate this into yourself. Really super simple is that when you go out for your next walk, if you know you have to get from A to B, even if it's from your door to the car, that when you do that, be present with every moment. The door closing behind you. What do the steps feel like under your feet as your feet hit the ground? The wind on your face, the different temperature changes on your skin. And then when you're outside, seeing if, I just had a call come in. I wonder if that's going to mess that up. Seeing if you can also stay listening both to what is right around you, other people's footsteps, your own footsteps, your bag maybe as it's swinging on your arm, and then also listening for the sounds a little further away. Can you hear the birds in the trees? Can you hear a distant construction noise of some sort? Can you hear people's voices in the shops that you pass? Things like that, right? And all those things bring you really, really present into your senses. So coming back to the other piece, which is, so this is like walking meditation. This is all the balance of being and doing if you're just joining us. And if this is resonating for you, to give some likes and some hearts. So coming back to this being and doing, this is all about acting on behalf of yourself. And truly, when we talk about this integration, this is about being in relationship with yourself, being present and mindful when we're practicing this really paying attention. And as you hear me talk about a lot, this is about insourcing as much as it is outsourcing. And sometimes when we get around other people, or if we are in full service of other people, we are in serving mode, and we want to be with these other people. We want to make sure they're okay and that they're taken care of. And depending on kind of where you fall on the people pleaser spectrum, that might be more severe, that you kind of actually like fully leave your body when you're serving others in that way, or being around others because you have such a big heart and you care so much about what you're doing. So there's a sweet little guidance there that I can give you that helps you stay present in your body, helps you stay present with yourself while you're around other people. And that is simply this is actually something I've learned with the Hendricks, which are my mentors and trainers. And the Hendricks, Gay and Katie Hendricks, are phenomenal if you're familiar with their work. Conscious Living and Conscious Loving, and Gay Hendricks wrote The Big Leap, which I highly recommend everyone read. I'm technically a Big Leap coach through their system. And they give the gift. I mean, Gay Hendricks especially, they do so much breath work in that program. And really, I mean, that's actually your guidance, your guiding compass right there for being and doing, is that while you're doing anything, while you're creating anything in your life, while you're, getting shit done and making it happen, you can still be paying attention to your breath. So if you are in situations where you're serving, where even if you're a coach, if you're a therapist, if you're a doctor, if you are, teaching and speaking, leading a workshop, or even if you're just with your partner and wanting to be so fully present, there's a thing that they gave me, which I use all the time, which is looping. And essentially what this is just noticing. So essentially, if I'm sitting here with you, I might take a breath or two that is really noticing my presence with me. And I could still be listening to you. And I take a breath, and I'm really with my body. I'm noticing what's happening in my body as I'm listening to you. And I can still be listening to you. I can still be fully present, but I'm just coming back to myself. And then I can loop back to you and be present with you and kind of sense into your energy. And it's an amazing mindfulness practice. It's called looping. And so just practice that next time you're around someone or you're in conversation with someone, just taking a moment to loop back in your own energy field and your own presence with yourself, and then loop with them and be present with them and practice that looping. The other tool I was going to give you earlier that I was just thinking about is especially if you are wanting to stay present in work. And if you're, for example, have a project and a task at hand and you're like, okay, I've got to get this done. I've got to take care of this. This is where it's incredibly helpful to use some kind of timer. This has been, famous. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I'm going to land it for you just one more time in this, in the awareness of being and doing is how powerful the Pomodoro Method is. And that's the technical term that people have called this, which is simply setting a timer for 20 minutes. And even sometimes in my meditation app, I use Insight Timer these days. And even in my meditation app, I will have it give me a chime every 4 or 5 minutes, depending on the day and where I'm wanting to go in my meditation, so that I can simply come back. It's kind of my invitation to come back to my breath. And that's what a timer is for you when you're doing your work as well. It says, I'm willing, this is my intention is to integrate this being and doing. My intention is to stay conscious and aware and acting on behalf of myself, not getting derailed, I actually have a funny story that the first time I used a Pomodoro Method, this is years and years ago now, but the first time I used a Pomodoro Method, I had a big proposal to write, and it was something I had been procrastinating on. This is, seriously, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, and I'd heard of this Pomodoro Method, and I probably had integrated it, but this was the first time I was like really relying on it, needing it in this thick situation. And I will never forget that I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, totally go and get this proposal done. And I used the Pomodoro Method, and when the timer goes off, I was in my kitchen making myself a snack and pouring myself a glass of wine. Which was like the ultimate distraction, where I was like, surely I need something to eat. Like, if you find yourself in your kitchen pouring a glass of wine and having a snack when you should be doing the thing that you're supposed to be working on. But all I did, it was actually, I just laughed. And this is the other piece of being and doing that I think is one of the greatest gifts of all in it, is that when we are present, this is like the biggest juice of all of this entire video, and it always comes kind of right at the end, which is the biggest gift of being and doing is that you are present. And the gift in being present so much, especially in this view and through this lens, is that you are not holding on. You're not holding on to the past and maybe the beliefs or identities of who you are, and you're not holding on to this expectation of who you're supposed to be or what you have to get done. It allows you actually this breath and space in this present moment to just allow and to be, to show up and see what comes, and to be yourself more fluid, right? So coming back to that word flow, is when you're in this flow, it's really about letting go. It's about not having this attachment and just trusting what is coming through. And so if you are utilizing the Pomodoro Method and you find yourself, derailed, just like in a meditation, right? If all of a sudden you find yourself thinking about something else, it's simply your invitation to come back. And you can even laugh about it, and then you set the timer again, or you come back to your breath, or in that situation with another person, you loop back into yourself and check in, and then loop back to them. And all these pieces, all these gifts will give you the opportunity of really staying present. And I'll say, and I've said it a few times here, but I'll say the one other piece of this is really inviting yourself to have intention with your work. So our being and doing and this integration is the foundation of it, is of us having that clear intention and that clear purpose for your work. If you don't have a clear intention, that's why, right? When I had that proposal to write, I was like, okay, this is my focus, this is my intention, this is my purpose, and everything sort of operated around that, right? And so even with another person, maybe your intention is simply to stay present in your body while you're serving with another person. But if you are sitting down to work in a day and you're wanting to be a conscious entrepreneur who gets a lot of shit done and being a badass activator, and you want to really integrate this being and doing, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself as a solid foundation, or you can even say as an umbrella, is a clear purpose and a clear intention for your work. And that can be for the day. I highly recommend actually that you create one that really guides your next 3 months or 6 months, because you don't want to have to be constantly rethinking your purpose. It really should be something that's also supporting the goals of your next 3 months and 6 months. And this is a lot of what I support my clients with. So if this is of interest to you and you want support, you know where to find me. Yes, thank you so much for joining me. So fun to see your comments come through, and hit likes if all this is resonating, and just thank you so much for being here, and wishing you all those sweet, sweet flow moments of being and doing as you go out there and consciously create the work that you want to see in the world, and kick ass doing your great work and being a badass activator, as I like to call it, where you're truly catalyzing, letting this come through. I almost just see like lightning bolts of just rocking and rolling and making it happen and birthing your big ideas into the world. Have a great day or evening wherever you are, and thanks for being here. Lots of love.